Professional football in America is a special game, a unique game. Played nowhere else on earth, it is a rare game. The men who play it make it so.
Hey, baby, let's go out there like a bunch of crazy dogs and have some fun.
Coming now, buddy. We on our horse all day long. Let's just kick that butt all day long. Pick it up. Don't stop. Pick it up. Let's go.
Get after the ball. Tattoo somebody.
Regulators, count up. We're coming.
Pro football is a mirror of early America, reflecting toughness, courage, and self-denial.
There he is. Whoa. Whoa. Good job. Good job.
That's way to make a play out there, buddy. Nice job.
Over Pirate 2. Ready?
45 wide.
Yeah,
45 wide.
Keep on playing at this level.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Justin from Justin Paul Sports. It is Friday. It is the weekend, and we are here wrapping up our 4-episode long series that we've been doing every Friday for these live streams. We've been doing Dynasty rookies that are coming in for the NFL for this fall for your Dynasty leagues. We've done our quarterbacks. We've done our running backs. Last week we did the wide receivers, and today we're going to do tight ends. But before I get into that, I just want to wish you all a happy weekend. I'm in Arizona. It's going to be spicy this weekend. It's going to be nice and hot. But speaking of hot, as you guys know, if you follow me on X, I always put out daily picks, daily sports betting picks on my YouTube channel here or on X. And I pick free picks, which right now, unfortunately, are really ain't doing it. But my Sharp Edge Elite plan is $99 for 14 days. We're kind of even on those units, but where I'm cooking at is the CFL. CFL, I'm absolutely red hot, 8-1. I hit my 5-unit max on that. Let's get a little taste of the CFL before we get going today. So with that being said, a little promo with Bet Us or Bet US, however you want to pronounce it, you get 125% bonus deposit match. So if you deposit $100, you're going to get $125 free play. And unlike any other sports books, you don't have to use it on a single game parlay. You don't have to use it on a parlay. You don't have to bet it however anybody else tells you to, except bet it how you want to do it. And you can do it for your first 3 deposits. Deposit 100, get 125. Do that 3 times. It's amazing. It's one of the best books out there. If you want to shoot us something in the comments, I'll get you the link. But without any further waiting, let me bring on my co-host at this time. This is Bobby from Bobby's Board. What's going on out there on the other side of the Mississippi, sir?
Hot, humid, raining a lot. But all that aside, I'm excited to get into the tight end prospects. It's a little top heavy in this class, but there is some late round sleepers that I'd like. We're not going to be going over those guys. We're going to be going over the higher drafted tight ends. But overall, I think this is a pretty decent class.
Yeah, tight end classes can be real picky. You know, they can be real either hit or miss. I mean, you could say that about any position when it comes to any year, really. But I felt like it was a decent quarterback class this time. We got our boy 72 Seasons Metal saying good evening to you. And this is the first show that we're putting on X, and it's kind of worked because we've got 9 eyes on the show already. So I will take that. Thank you for joining. And you guys, if you go to our YouTube, I know that I'll be able to see comments that way. I'm not quite sure how that works on X. If it does, it'll pop up and I'll see it. And feel free to join and ask questions. And Bobby is the guy that does the film He chops all the film up. He analyzes it. He's kind of the anchor for these fantasy film studies. He does all the work for understanding the height, the weight, the good, the bad. This is why the show works. Next week, we're going to do our SEC preview. That's going to be, is it 6 weeks or 4 weeks? We got four teams every week, and I'll have the schedule posted on X, and we'll pop it up to where we can get ready for some college football, because college football is king. NFL is up there too, but college football is king. And we will be going over the preview. I can't wait to do those previews. I'm so excited because we're going to
that's going to be awesome. It's a little bit out of my realm, but I'm excited to learn a lot more about our SEC conference and just kind of go over all the teams and kind of understand more in depth of how the offenses run, how their rosters are looking, all that. It's going to be a ton of fun. We'll have some filming stuff on there as well. This is the All-22 show. So, of course, we're going to have some All-22 of all the teams on there. But we're going to be mostly going over the teams, how they run the offense, things like that, just the team in totality.
That's kind of what the objective will be, because there are tons of shows out there that do previews of college football and things along that sort, but we want to provide something a little different with the film. And we're going to try and find players that are going to be on the teams this year. Like, for example, if we're doing Alabama, we're not going to really emphasize Jalen Milroe or anybody on defense. It'll be mostly offensive players and offensive plays. And maybe, we haven't done the research yet on it, but if there's any new coaches in the SEC, maybe we'll find something from where their previous team is to kind of just get, like Bobby said, get a feel for what they're doing. Yep. So it's going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to see how it plays out. I mean, Training Company got it great. They've been doing great with their stuff. Josh Pate has his weekly show, or his tri-weekly show. I mean, he does fantastic stuff. He covers nationally. He covers everything. But I love the SEC. Bobby's a Mississippi State fan. So I think that's where we're going to kind of stick to our guns. And SEC fans are the epitome of elite fans. And I know that might offend or upset some of you. I mean, Big Ten is our twin brother, but they're the younger twin brother, and everybody else is our little cousins. We love them, and we want them to do well. But, when it's time to fight Big Brother, make sure that you come correct or don't come at all. Speaking of coming correct, how about we jump right into the film?
Absolutely. Don't mind if I do. So, like I said, before we get into the tight end class, we did have 2 first-round rookie tight ends, which, obviously pretty impressive. But outside of that, we had a few second-round tight ends. I'm not going over all the second-round tight ends because there are a few that just kind of underwhelmed me in terms of picks. But the first guy that we're going to be going over is Colston Loveland out of Michigan. So he's 6'6", 248 pounds. He's a first-round pick. He was a top 10 pick going to the Chicago Bears, which I thought was an interesting pick because they already had Cole Kmet, a tight end that I liked, overall. I thought he brought solid urgency at the position, but I guess Ben Johnson wanted another playmaker, and he got that in Colston Loveland. He's only 21 years old. He had a decent 2024 season, all things considered, because Michigan runs the football so much. 582 yards, 5 touchdowns, right? Excellent size at the position, 6'6", 248 pounds. That's pretty standard for your NFL-level tight end, especially if he's able to be blocking in line. You want your guys to be a little bit beefier, a little bit bigger. And his jump ball ability, guys, super solid. It's inconsistent at times, but he showcases some elite jump ball ability. We'll see that in the film, absolutely. But some of the things I didn't like as much about him, so this is looking at him in terms of a fantasy asset. His lack of production in college was, partially not on him. It was mainly on Michigan not really having a quarterback this past season. The year before that, when they won the national championship, he really didn't produce all that much either. That's, like I said, they run the football a ton, so it really hinders his opportunities. And he's more of a balanced tight end. I do think he is the best NFL tight end in the draft class, but I don't think he's the best fantasy tight end in the draft class. He was my tight end 3 coming into the draft. With the draft capital, I bumped him up a little bit to my tight end 2, but he's a balanced tight end, right? He's going to have that blocking and receiving role. So, it's not going to really project as well in terms of fantasy. But
I think it's good what you're saying about his. It's good that you mentioned what's going on in Michigan. I mean, when they won the national championship, they were a running team. I mean, they had that one game. I can't remember off the top of my head, but they had a Big Ten game where in the second half, all they did was run the ball over and over and over.
Yep.
If it's broke, well, I want to say with Penn State, but just running the football obviously is the key to winning games. And people forget that when we're trying to win football games that you don't necessarily care so much about fantasy. I wanted to say on him in particular, based on that size, I think that he's got a ton of talent. And I think that Ben Johnson, you know, when he went to Detroit, I was a big fan of James Mitchell. You remember James Mitchell? I thought James Mitchell was going to be their guy. I thought he was, because he was big like that and everything, but he was, you know, he clearly wasn't. They went with Sam Laporta. I think Loveland will be better than Sam Laporta because he reminds me of Travis Kelce. He reminds me of him because he's like a tall wide receiver. He doesn't look like a big, dominating, blocking tight end. That'll never be this guy's game. He's not like Darnell Washington, who was another prospect that I absolutely thought was a killer.
He's gigantic.
Darnell Washington. Dude, he's 6'7", and he hits violently. I don't know why the Steelers – I don't know why they didn't give him the job. I know he fell because of injury, but I was a big fan of
I want to say he got hurt as well. I think he tore his Achilles in camp, right? Yeah, that's unfortunate. But in all honesty, with Colston Loveland, we're going to have – I think the first clip of him is a blocking play. Yeah, it's versus Illinois here. Top 3 ugliest uniforms in college, in my opinion. Illinois.
These are the throwbacks, though. These are the I can tell by the helmet. Those are the throwbacks of the 30s.
Yeah, these are horrible uniforms. But anyways, you're going to see Colston Loveland in line here, and you're going to see him absolutely bulldoze this guy all the way through the play. Boom, hits him, get off of me. Boom, get off of me. Takes him out of the play, basically. And you'll see a better angle of this right now. Beautiful play from Colston Loveland. You'll see him in line on the left, number 18. Guy comes in motion. Kind of cool motion screen. Well, kind of not a screen, but a cool motion from that Michigan receiver. And you just see him body that guy. And he doesn't even get a chance to tackle Khalil Mullings here. I mean, that linebacker's taken completely out of the play. And partially is one of the reasons that play is so successful. So when I say he's a balanced tight end, guys, he's very good at blocking. He's not the best blocker in this class, but he's up there. He's good enough to where, and I want to say this real quick. If you are good at blocking, it also increases your opportunities to be on the field. So, for example, if you're an awful pass blocker or an awful run blocker, rather, and teams see you on the field, they know it's a pass play, and offensive coordinators and offensive-minded head coach hate having that type of liability where you know when this guy's on the field it's going to be a pass play. So you're going to see Colston Loveland come on motion here, and this is a beautiful play from Colston Loveland. He's just running kind of like a corner route here, but you see working in a scramble drill. This is probably Colston Loveland's best catch on the season. You're going to see him work up field here, number 18. He throws it to him. High points the ball into double coverage. Questionable throw, by the way, from this quarterback. That's okay. But this is important for tight ends especially. You see him, the corner route is completely bagged, so he works upfield and tries to get into the soft area of the zone. When you said that Travis Kelce kind of thing, that's exactly what Travis Kelce does at the NFL level. And you see him work upfield. Great play from number 4, by the way, getting his hand up and trying to get the ball away from Loveland. Doesn't matter.
That looks like the Texas game right there.
Yes.
So that was week 2. So that was early in the season, and Michigan got crushed. But when you're going, hosting a top 5 team,
and they were horrible. They were horrible to start the year as well. It was just, you could tell that they had lost a lot of their talent. They lost their coach. And it just
lost Connor Stallions, Michigan fans.
Yeah.
Y'all cheated. You cheated. Don't cheat.
So I only got 3 clips for each tight end here, just because it's kind of hard going through the film on here. But you're going to see this also versus Texas. And, he's right here. I'll show you guys. We'll watch that beautiful catch one more time. That's a great play by him. But Colston Loveland's in line here. He's going to act like he's blocking and then run an angle route, which is an interesting route. Tight ends don't normally run angle routes, but he makes himself available, and it's a solid route. He gets open. He's kind of like the check down for this play and catches the ball. Not the best throw, guys. You'd like that throw to be in his numbers, but instead it's over his head. Still catches it, though. But then he just loses footing of the football. Now, that is one thing with Colston Loveland that you guys are going to need to come to expect with him. He doesn't have the most reliable hands. And sometimes with that, he just will drop the football. Versus Penn State, I believe, is one of his really poor games where he dropped the football like 5 or 6 times in one game. I mean, maybe it wasn't that many, but it was a lot of drops in one game. And that kind of showcased a little bit of once he gets cold, he just really can't recover. I'm not sure. But obviously, he wasn't my tight end one, but I do think he's talented. I see all the talent in the world on film. He's just got to make it a little bit more consistent. I feel very similarly to him that I feel to Elick Eomanor. Just shows flashes of very solid talent, and then it's just not super consistent at all times. But very good blocker. In my opinion, the best NFL tight end, not the best fantasy tight end.
Well, those two things, like we have to remember that these NFL teams, especially Chicago, full disclosure for, we got a handful of viewers here, so full disclosure, I'm a Packers fan, but I'm going to say this about the Bears. They're really putting together massive roster improvements on paper, and parts of, like I've said before on the show, Ben Johnson, I got to see it as a head coach before I believe it, before I believe any hype. Because it's not like this is a situation like Jim Harbaugh, who's had NFL experience and went to Michigan and then comes back and immediately takes the Chargers to the playoffs. This is a first-year assembly of a lot of young talent. I mean, we got him. We got Loveland here. We got Luther Burden. You got Rome Odunze in his second year. You got Caleb Williams in his second year. They're still kind of thin on the defensive front. So I think that Bears fans are – if I was a Bears fan, I'd be rightfully excited.
Yeah, their linebackers are a little but I mean, they got Grady Jarrett from the Falcons. They got the center from the Falcons. They still got Montez Sweat, I believe. So, they got a lot of solid. He is very old.
Great player. And they got Joe Thuney, who is a little – I think those guys are a little bit past their prime.
Yeah.
But it's veteran. It's like because the Bears' offensive line last year was just in shambles. And I enjoyed every minute of it. But I do think that with Ben Johnson's going to scheme up some stuff, and I want to see how it plays out. He doesn't have the same personnel yet that he had in Detroit. He definitely doesn't have, Jared Goff he kind of just stands there and is your traditional prototype pro-style NFL quarterback.
Caleb Williams is the opposite.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's just a big question mark. I think the Bears are still 1 year away. I think it's kind of like, I'm going to compare it to the White Sox. Last year, the White Sox were just rotten to the core, and it was because of their manager. I mean, there's stories that come out about Pedro Grifol, and just this year, they're still not good, but they've got young players, and you can feel things changing. And I think with Chicago, you're feeling things changing. I think this is going to be – I think he's way better than Cole Kmet. I think it's an upgrade at the position. I mean, he was 10th overall for a reason. The Bears got their guy. I think that Colston Loveland might bust out on his rookie season with 100 grabs. I really do, because they've got DJ Moore and they've got Rome Odunze. I'm not that high on Odunze, but I think that the Bears are going to scheme him and create mismatches because of that size. And like you said, he's the most pro-ready tight end. I think that he can be – I even think he could be in the running. I mean, he doesn't have for tight ends, but he could be in the running for Rookie of the Year because of what I think because Laporta had an amazing statistical Rookie of the Year.
Yep.
So
almost 1,000 yards, 8-9 touchdowns, right? He had a great rookie season. Yeah, with Colston Loveland, I think they're going to kind of slowly integrate him into the offense because obviously he's not super used to a pro-style offense just because Michigan runs the ball a ton. So he didn't really get to run all that many routes, but I do think he's super talented. I think they're going to run a bunch of 12 personnel, right? But that's kind of weird because you have 3 really high-end wide receivers in DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, and Luther Burden. So I don't really know how often they're going to be running 12 personnel. It's just going to be weird to see how they utilize all their personnel because they are loaded in terms of talent.
That's what I'm saying. Wait and see. Again, their running backs aren't good. they're just like DeAndre Swift. I mean,
mid.
Ben Johnson already ran this dude out of town once.
Yep.
Roshan Johnson couldn't get out of Bajan's shadow at Texas. He's a great goal line back. Bears fans
I like Monungai, though. I like Monungai, their 6th round pick. He's solid out of Rutgers, but he's just a big kind of power back. Very similar to Roshan Johnson. Very similar. That was kind of my pro comp for him, weirdly enough.
All this stuff is like it's just the NFL. You can't put that much youth out there with a first-year coach. It's almost like that's what I'm saying. Like, it's Chicago. It's just 1 year. I want to see a full season of them, and I'll be unbiased, even though I'm a Packers fan. Like, I'm intrigued by it. I'm intrigued by this because this might be some of the most exciting offensive talent there. I mean, when your best quarterback is Jay Cutler, and you had, Alshon Jeffrey and Matt Forte, and I mean, those guys were just not young at the core, and their defense was so dominant. Well, in this NFL, the Bears' defense is questionable. Last year they were 4-2 until that Hail Mary in Washington. They could have been 5-2, and we wouldn't even be talking about Ben Johnson as coach.
And both of the Packers games were super close as well, right? They always play the Packers super hard.
Well, the first one was a blocked field goal.
Yeah.
The Packers blocked a field goal to win it. And then the second one, Bears fans love to rub it in because it was the first win in Lambeau, but the Packers just made a poor defensive call late in the game. And they're resting players for the playoffs. And they threw it was wide open in the middle of the field, set up a field goal. And he barely made that kick. I mean, he still made it. That's all that counts is if you make it. And that was a good way for the Bears fans to end their season. I mean, that's their Super Bowl. They won 6 games. But it's like I said, this isn't beat up the Bears. It's a year away. So let's move on to our next guy, shall we?
Yep. So the next guy that we're going to be talking about is my favorite tight end in the class. It's Tyler Warren out of Penn State. Huh? Yep. He's my favorite in terms of a fantasy asset. I think he's going to be utilized in a lot of creative ways. He's 6'6", 256 pounds. He's also a first-round pick. He was 14th overall. People were curious on which tight end was going to go first, Loveland or Warren, right? Like I said, I thought NFL teams would enjoy Loveland a little bit more just because he was a little bit more balanced. He could do a little bit more in terms of the blocking department. And he goes to the Indianapolis Colts, which at the time I was a little devastated, not going to lie, because I love Tyler Warren as a prospect, and I was so excited to draft him in all of my rookie drafts. But unfortunately, with him, he lands on a team with Daniel Jones, who historically is horrible. He just doesn't target his tight ends, and Anthony Richardson, who might be the most inaccurate quarterback ever to be on an NFL field. He's terribly inaccurate. But the Colts with Shane Steichen, I think. You pick a guy top 15 overall in the draft, you're going to utilize him in all creative facets of his game. And let's go over, he's 23 years old. He's a 4th or 5th year breakout, which sometimes kind of signals a red flag. But with him, kind of have to look at context. At Penn State, they were loaded at the tight end position, right? They had Brenton Strange. They had Theo Johnson, both that are NFL starting tight ends right now. And then they just basically waited for Tyler Warren to get his shot, right? And when he did, in 2024, he destroyed it. 2023, he had a solid year too. I think 600 yards and 7 touchdowns, but he one-ups this. I will say this was in 15 games, 14 games, something like that, but he had over 100 receptions. He was second among all receivers in receptions, second in all yards, 1,233 receiving yards and 8 touchdowns. Excellent size.
No, go ahead. I was going to say something about Penn State. I'll wait till you wrap this up before you jump to the phone.
So, in terms of his size, 6'6", 256, excellent size, especially when you're athletic. I thought Tyler Warren was very athletic as well. And the versatility. If I have one word to describe Tyler Warren in a nutshell, it would be versatility. This guy did it all at Penn State. He lined up at quarterback, H-back, fullback. He did punts at Penn State at some points. Lines up in line, out wide, in the slot. It doesn't matter. They just found ways to get him the ball because he was their best offensive player. Now, that also kind of inflates his numbers a little bit, right? Because he was used in a lot of gimmicky screenplays, things that, aren't really going to be happening at the NFL level, right? He's probably not going to be running the ball a ton. I think he is going to get a couple rushing touchdowns. It's going to surprise a couple people, but I do think he's going to be taking some rushing snaps. I don't think he's going to be throwing the football. He does have a background. He was a high school quarterback, but the gimmicky usage I don't think is going to translate that well to the NFL, so that does kind of put a nick in kind of some of the stuff that he does. And he's also kind of a raw blocker. At 6'6", 256 pounds, I was really expecting him to be way more of a mauler than he actually is. He's just not super consistent with his blocks, and that's probably what made him the second tight end off the board versus the first. But yeah, if you see he's a fifth-year breakout, had a ton of yards and receptions this past year, and Penn State made him the guy in that offense.
Well, a couple things I want to say before that. First of all, last year with Penn State, when you've got your note here about gimmicky usage, this is the first time that you've had kind of that description for a player on any of our film that I can think of. And when it comes to him, so from what I saw from Penn State football last year, I think that the Colts are actually going to use a little bit of that, because when you look at how this game is with the NFL, and we've got these things with the tush push and things along those sorts, I can absolutely see, if you look at his stat line down there, he carried the ball 26 times, right? Which is a lot for a tight end, right? Yep. This is kind of like bigger Taysom Hill. I could see him on the goal line taking the snap and just quarterback sneaking it on those 4th down and 1. I mean, he's a big guy, and he's, he'll get a yard. If you got 104 grabs in college, and over 1,000 yards. If you get over 1,000 yards in college, because you're not playing a full 17-game season here, you're producing. And I think that Penn State I think this is James Franklin actually using a player to help with the team. And I think the Colts, they had nothing at tight end. Mo Alley Cox ain't that guy. But where you and I are going to disagree, and that's one thing I like about our show, is we have plenty of agreements, but we do have disagreements on certain things. And it's not bad stuff. It's just we see things differently. I of the camp, and you can crucify me in the comments, viewers. I mean, I don't care, but I think Daniel Jones can play the position. I do, because he took the Giants to the playoffs.
He did
with Isaiah Hodgins as his wide receiver 1. Daniel Jones can run RPO. He's got the wheels. And I think that he's coming to a situation where kind of the pressure's off when you go from New York City to Indianapolis, Indiana. And he can just simply, and they got Jonathan Taylor down there. I think that Steichen's crafty enough with his time in Philadelphia to say, hey, we can make defenses go crazy, because it'll either be DJ, because I think he's going to start over Anthony Richardson. I think Anthony Richardson is done. It's going to be DJ. It's going to be Jonathan Taylor, and then you put Tyler Warren in the backfield, right? So if you've not seen it you're smirking. If you haven't seen it on film, what are you going to do? Because you know that Tyler Warren in college threw the ball. He can run the ball. He's Mr. This. It's like the Taysom Hill thing. And he threw a couple passes in college. I think that it would be a super trick play for Indy. I don't think he'll be throwing a lot in the NFL at all, but I do think, Green Bay does the package too with Jordan Love, where he'll come up there and then they run the quarterback sneak, and Tucker Kraft will slide right in there.
Absolutely.
That's what I can see him doing, but I think that that's who I would compare him to. But I like Tucker Kraft as a receiver a little more, because Tucker doesn't run the ball. He's not fast enough. This is more like fullback, tight end, hybrid, H-back, but
he does it all.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think and that's the thing about fantasy, and this is for Dynasty, I wouldn't take him personally. I wouldn't draft him, because you just don't know. And that's obviously the chance you take with rookies. But this isn't your prototypical tight end position type player. Most of them are like Colston Loveland and Harold Fannin and those guys who just traditionally played position. I think Penn State was just absolutely trying to do what they could to win the championship. Because I like Nick Singleton. I think Penn State could have ran the ball more with him. I think he's my favorite running back in his next coming class. But it's just like, we'll see. Let's see what he does. Show us what he does, Bob.
Yeah. Before I get into the film, I do think he plays the tight end position very well. He's got some killer hands. He can jump over people and moss people. My pro comp for Tyler Warren was Jeremy Shockey, actually. If Jeremy Shockey wasn't banged up so much, I think he could have been a borderline Hall of Fame level tight end. I see people throwing out the Rob Gronkowski pro comps as well. I think that's his absolute max ceiling, obviously, if he doesn't get hurt. But you absolutely see the physicality, and we're going to go over that right now. So with Tyler Warren, he is a bulldozer after the catch. So you'll see this weird formation here. They only got 3 down linemen. You got him in line here. Very weird formation, right? And this ended up going to be a tunnel screen, which it doesn't really get ran that much in the NFL. You'll probably never see it, but you're going to see a lot of motion, trick plays here. It kind of makes it look like it's a screen. Tyler Warren comes in on the tunnel screen, and watch him. He just bulldozes through guys. He has some of the best yak ability. When you hear the word yak, you think elusiveness, juke, things like that. Yak also means power. And when it comes to the power department, Tyler Warren is a bulldozer. He uses all of that 256-pound frame of him and lays the boom on players.
Jesus.
So here's another one. This is Tyler Warren in line here. I want to say he's on a go route here.
Same game.
Yep.
USC.
Boom.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a gimmicky route, but he didn't have that much separation, right? USC played it pretty well, but that's what he offers you. In the red zone, Tyler Warren can do that consistently. He can high point the ball with that 6'6" frame, and that's where the Jeremy Shockey comes in. That screams Jeremy Shockey to me. Yeah. And this is him in Wildcat, right? He actually ends up snapping the ball. Yep. He really went off. He really went off here. So this is the same play, by the way. But he plays center. I just wanted to showcase he hikes the ball there. And, I mean, that's just an insane catch. This is versus Oregon. He's also on a go route and, gets some separation here on the go route, but just doesn't really come down with it. It's one of his few drops on the season. I mean, and you see what he does. He does a little bit of push off here. Tight ends do that at the NFL level all the time to get separation. Not penalty worthy here, but you see him. He's in the slot here. I know you can't see where he's lined up, but he's in the slot here. Little gimmicky play here. Little play action fake. And
number 5 is cooked. He's just cooked.
Yeah. And it's not that not that Warren's faster than him. You just see him. You see him push off with that hand a little bit, use that strength, because he is an incredibly strong man. He just doesn't really utilize that in the blocking department, which is weird. But love the power. Love him when he has the ball in his hands. He will always get you extra yards just plowing over people. That kind of leads me to hoping he doesn't get hurt at the NFL level, because when you plow over guys like that, it increases your chance of injury. But overall, I think in terms of a fantasy asset, he is the best player to have at the tight end position. Love what he showcases on film. He can be a red zone threat at that size too. A little bit of Jimmy Graham. Jimmy Graham was obviously a little bit bigger, but has that same sort of high point ball potential where he can catch balls on fade routes and things like that in the red zone. But yeah, love. He wears 44. You know why he wears 44? You know who wore 44? Mr. John Riggins. Commanders, Redskins running back from the 80s, I believe, played very similarly with the ball in his hands that Tyler Warren does. So, obviously, I love Tyler Warren. I can't wait to see what Shane Steichen cooks up with him into Indianapolis, and hopefully he has a really good rookie season. I think he's going to surprise a lot of people as long as he does not get hurt. Well,
yeah, that's the key to any NFL player, is just the injury history. But It's just this one is just this player is just such a mixed bag of, not knowing. I mean, we could look at the film all day, but you just showed a bunch of formations that aren't prevalent in the NFL. He's a playmaker on those trick plays, but what is Indianapolis going to stoop up for him? What are they going to draw up to have Tyler Warren get the football in his hands? I mean, the Colts, their receiving core, in my opinion, is pretty decent. And they've got Jonathan Taylor in the backfield to run the rock. So I think the Colts are going to be better than people think.
Yeah.
But
they got a ton of offensive weapons. A ton.
Yeah. And they got the season. I think that they're going to, they're going to do something amazing for Jim Irsay, rest in peace. But it just feels like this is a quiet offseason for this team. And I think they've quietly improved. And I do feel that the Colts might be, that division is just so wacky, because Houston's still seems to be the front runner, but the Jags look better, and the Titans still kind of have a long way to go. Yeah. But we're going to kind of see, Yeah. So we got 100. Appreciate that, Coy. Appreciate you tuning in.
Yeah, with the Colts, they just have to figure out the defensive side of the ball. Their defense was atrocious, and Anthony Richardson out there, I know you said he's probably done. I don't know if he's done, but he definitely has a lot of things to improve. He was a project quarterback coming out, and the Colts were like, we're just going to start him anyways. I'm like, that's not what you needed to do. Should have kept Jacoby Brissett in town and just started him a couple seasons or just a season just trying to develop him, because he was never a NFL starting quarterback when he got drafted. And they just let him be that anyways. I mean, a fun fact, Geno Smith completed more passes in 2024 than Anthony Richardson has completed since high school.
That's the thing at Florida. He didn't have great completion percentage at Florida. Nope. So I think the Colts made the mistake of just hype. I mean, they were hyping him up, and he's got
Combine did wonders for him.
Yeah, it just unfortunately you don't take him at 4. And he's a nice kid and stuff like that. And when we do these shows, we don't want to beat up on athletes, but it's just like, man, no offense, guy, but like you haven't had enough. It's like Trey Lance. He hadn't had enough snaps. At that position, that's the only position at quarterback where I'm so forgiving on being like Bo Nix's age when you come out, because you've had all the reps and you've seen more defenses and have made more adjustments, and that's a special position. So, like I said earlier, I think Daniel Jones is gonna. He might really be like, okay, because he's out of that volatile situation in New York.
Yeah,
he's got upgrades. I love Brian Daboll as a coach, but as far as like overall staff and stuff like that, I think that this is going to be. I think it's going to be good for him.
He's got 3 really good receivers. I know he had Neighbors last year, but now he has Josh Downs, a electric slot wide receiver. Michael Pittman, solid as like a possession type receiver. Adonai Mitchell was separating consistently last year. Anthony Richardson just couldn't hit him. And A.D. Mitchell is a phenomenal athlete, by the way. Now you add Tyler Warren in there and a top 5 running back in the NFL and Jonathan Taylor with Quentin Nelson as well, like a solid offensive line. Like Daniel Jones, if he wins that starting job, I know Anthony Richardson has been inconsistent in camp. Obviously, he showcases some crazy ability, and then the next play he'll miss a wide open out route, right? 10 yards out of bounds. So we'll see who wins that job. I think Daniel Jones is a sneaky buy in Dynasty right now if you can get him. But let's go ahead and move on to the next guy. And I'm going to be honest, I'm going to try my best not to be negative with this player. I scouted 200-plus players. There was not a single player that I had a lower grade on than Mason Taylor.
That's just you know what?
Like, I was not a big Mason Taylor guy.
I'm going to cut you off before you get into it, because when you're doing this film cut up, because, ladies and gentlemen, this man goes through film like nobody's business. I don't have the seat to do it. Like, you really have to sit and pay attention and watch coaches film and break down all those things. So credit to you, Bobby, for doing that. But if you have that kind of grade on a player, don't apologize for it. I mean, I know you're being mindful and stuff like that, but if you're talking about a Division I major college football program with everybody likes to pick on Brian Kelly, but he's been a successful head coach at Notre Dame. He's successful at LSU. And everybody makes the meme about game one because they just can't seem to win game one. And they got Clemson this year, I think, so they may not do it again. But nonetheless,
cooking.
Yeah. But if you feel that, this isn't the guy, I got a wide receiver that I didn't think was very good that I thought was like that. And that's Tesla from Arkansas. I didn't think he was worthy of that.
Very raw. He's
He's a
raw.
returner to me. He's not going to replace. I don't know why. I don't know what the Lions saw in him, but
Fast probably has that mentality, right? They look for guys with a certain mentality. He probably has it, but I mean, he's a freak athlete, but just has no production at all.
Yeah.
And just played at Arkansas. I got to watch him live last year, and he's fine. He's just a deep threat, and they already kind of have that deep threat already in Jameson Williams, so that didn't really make sense for me. Maybe that just kind of leans that Jameson Williams isn't going to be re-signed by them. I don't know, but
that would be like if that's the case, I'm going to tell the Detroit Lions fans that are watching, if there are any watching, if the front office is saying that Tesla is going to replace Jameson Williams, and I'm not saying this because J-Mo went to Alabama, I'm not.
He's insane.
It's like replacing A.J. Brown with Treylon Burks. So you better be careful with what you're doing because, when Jameson Williams, when Alabama went to the championship game with Bryce Young, they whooped in the SEC championship game. Georgia went up 10-0, but that was it. Alabama put them to the woodshed. But in that game, Jameson Williams tore his ACL and John Mechie got hurt. And because that happened, Georgia was able to pull off that national championship in my mind because they were able to change their defense and they didn't have to worry about the deep area anymore to focus on stopping the run. But that's not what we're talking about with Mason Taylor. I'm just saying with the Lions fans, like Tesla to Jameson, there's a gigantic gap. It's just not close. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know if that's the Lions' plans.
Yeah, he was like a 6th round grade for me. Did not expect a 3rd round draft capital for Tesla. So they must have really liked his interviews. But with Mason Taylor, guys, he's at LSU. He's got really solid size, 6'5", 251, right? 2nd round pick. He was a fairly early 2nd round pick going to the Jets. The Jets absolutely needed a tight end because their starter, Tyler Conklin, went elsewhere in free agency, and they really didn't have anybody. I think their starter was Mercedes Lewis. I think he's still on the team at 41 years old. But he is a young player. He's 21 years old, right? He's a 3-year player, 3-year starter as well at LSU, which is commendable, right? As a freshman, you got to be doing something right if you're going to start 14 games for the Tigers as a true freshman. And he came down with 55 balls, 546 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns. And, he does have solid hands in terms of his jump ball ability. And like I said, he has that exceptional size, but didn't love him as an athlete. I thought he was fairly slow. I thought that his routes were really underwhelming. And he was the 12th man on the defense when he comes in on run blocking plays. I mean, he was actively getting in the way of his running back. I mean, he was blowing up plays by himself consistently as a run blocker. Now, I don't know if I misjudged this or I just watched all the bad films surrounding Mason Taylor. I'm not sure. But I watched most of his tape, and I don't see anybody talking about how horrible he is as a run blocker. So maybe that's something that everyone's missing, or I'm an insane blind person. I don't know. But we'll see.
You're not a blind person. You're not a blind person,
we'll
Bobby.
See.
You are not.
I don't know, but I haven't seen anyone talking about how horrible he is as a blocker. I mean, it was concerning how horrible he was, considering he's 251 pounds, 6'5". He was awful. And, that's something that he's going to have to clean up. And the Jets are definitely, you see a team that is probably going to run the rock a bunch, right, with Justin Fields, Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis. I think they're going to have some sort of committee there in New York for the Jets. And with him, if he doesn't up his run blocking considerably in training camp, we're going to see some really horrible plays for him. I mean, it was a nightmare. But in terms of his production, I mean, it was fine. Over 3 seasons, he had 1,300 yards and 6 touchdowns, which is Obviously he had a lot of competition, right, with Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. in his sophomore season. As a junior, at some points during the season, he led them in receiving yards. He was kind of like the most consistent option for Nussmeier. But overall, I was just super underwhelmed with Mason Taylor. And when I heard the second-round draft capital, my mind was blown. Mind was blown.
Sometimes these teams just make these crazy decisions and we don't know what they're doing.
Specifically the Jets.
I don't know. I think they get desperate. And a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, he came up with this saying, and it's really good. And it's just be desperate for nothing. Don't be desperate for anything. You have to build your program and make sure that you know what you're doing. So, because the Jets have just been that team who's just consistently just done the craziest stuff. They tried to put together something, but clearly that wasn't the case.
Yeah, with Aaron Rodgers.
I got a little break after we go over Mason Taylor. I want to show everybody something. So let's go ahead and knock out this film.
All right. So let's go ahead and get into the first play for Mason Taylor. So he's going to work in scramble drill here versus Ole Miss. This film's a little choppy, so you see him work in scramble drill here, work into the open side of the field. He's right here. You'll see a better view of this. He ends up being put down. They call him down. His knee does touch the ground here, but you'll see him number 86 here. He's kind of working on this dig route, and you see Nussmeier. He kind of turns upfield here. Beautiful. Comes back to the football, and you see his knee touch here, but he keeps running, right? It runs through some tackles. This is probably his best play he's had in his entire career, but he ends up being called down, unfortunately. Otherwise, it would have been a touchdown. All right, this is a little bit better film. Ole Miss's that was LSU's All-22 film. It can be a little janky at times. But this is versus Texas A&M, a team that has very good All-22 film. But he's going to be on an outside release go route here. He's in line here. You're going to see him kind of go out here. You're going to see him moss this guy. And like I said, he's got pretty reliable hands. So you see him work out field. Nussmeier throws it in the bucket. Touchdown.
I'll tell you, like the wheel route.
From tight ends.
Like that, it's...
Especially when he's playing like he's blocking downfield. That's what he does here. You're thinking it's going to be like a screen or something. RIP to I forget his name. But yeah, beautiful play here. Ball comes out. He's ruled down at the 1 there. But
yeah, running the wheel, like it's like such an amazing pass. It's the most intriguing pass concept to me because you have to, like, you're creating that mismatch, and it's so impossible, I think, for the defender to try and chase down. Like, Alabama runs that against Georgia to a T, and Georgia's got 5-star athletes all over the field. Make no mistake, that is an elite program. I will never.
It's a man beater for sure. If you're playing man to man like they were, it beats it a lot of the times, unless your corner is a super freak athlete. Not the best versus zone, obviously, unless the quarterback fits it in between the zones. If you're in cover 2 or something like that, obviously there's holes on, the 15 to 18 yard line on each side of the field. If you're running 2 go routes, right, you have that ability. But yeah, it's kind of hard to place it in there. And wheel routes are really good. I mean, you see them all the time at the NFL level.
Like, it's my favorite thing to watch because it's just like, man, you're making them pay. And with that, like you said, he mossed him. It takes an incredible amount of defensive effort to go. It's just good coaching. I've always liked the wheel route. It's just a unique route for me. So just my little tangent there.
So this is versus South Carolina. He's going to be on a flat route here. And, this is kind of a nitpicky play. I could have used some of the blocking, but nobody wants to see Mason Taylor getting cracked in blocking. But you'll see Nussmeier kind of underthrows this, but Mason Taylor kind of works back to the ball, and he kind of lets the ball go through his hands. Like I said, he normally has solid hands, but, like I said, this kind of also showcases how poor he is as an athlete. He didn't test particularly well either. If you go to his player profiler page, he wasn't particularly explosive as an athlete, so overall, I think Mason Taylor is going to be a subpar NFL tight end. I think he's going to get the opportunities to start. So maybe he has a lot of opportunities to prove me wrong, but I just didn't see anything special on film.
Well, hey, like you said, don't apologize for, how you scout an athlete. You've taken the time to put in the effort. I don't think that your review of the film is a lazy man's take on it, because you're scouting for multiple reasons. You're scouting for your dynasty leagues, for your dynasty team. And, that reminds me, folks, make sure you tune into Bobby's channel. It's at Bobby's Big Board. Follow him on X, at Bobby's Big Board. He's growing on X, but his YouTube stuff is phenomenal. I mean, I'm blessed to have him on this show to talk football with me and talk dynasty ball, but the man breaks down film like a professional. If he was on television and I never met him, I would watch this stuff because it is educational, it's captivating, it's smart football. I love being able to talk football with people that aren't dumb. I don't want to say that football fans are dumb, but just that understand the intricacies of the game. And that's kind of why we want to do this channel. My channel, as you guys, if you subscribe to my channel, know that it's mostly about sports betting, and it's going to be sports commentary. But since we're wrapping up on Mason Taylor, I got to show you guys something, because what I've been doing is I'm going to pull this down for a second.
Absolutely.
And for those 29 people that are watching, thank you for watching. Feel free to leave comments. If you're on the YouTube, you can definitely comment. But what I'm going to do here is share my screen, because I have my CFL package where I have just been crushing it. And yesterday I had the Edmonton Elks, and they came roaring back, and they just missed it. But tonight, Bobby, and I know you'll see this because I'll share the screen. And if you're on the audience, I don't know if you hear the audio, but my CFL package is $149 for the season, because it's a long season in the CFL. We're in week 3. They have a game on Thursday, a game on Friday, doubleheader on Saturday. I post all my picks behind a paywall, but the reason why I'm stopping is not necessarily to promote that, but I'm going to tell you guys what my pick was today, and it was Saskatchewan -3.5 against the Toronto Argonauts. Would you like to see something fun, Bobby?
I would absolutely love to see something fun, my friend.
So I'm going to show everybody, and I don't know if you'll be able to see this at home or not, but can you see that, Bobby?
I can see that.
Okay. So I want everybody to know when they see this, I don't know if they'll hear it, but the game is tied in the fourth quarter. You'll see the bottom. You'll see the ticker. It'll tell you what's going on. It's 21 seconds long. And here we go.
23 seconds remaining, 32 all. Alford crosses the 20 to the 30 to the 40.
Oh my goodness.
On races. No one's going to touch it.
Who is that?
Legs down. Walk it off.
Alford taking it to the house for 6 points. Bobby,
That's beautiful.
there were 17 seconds left in that game. So if I had -3.5 for Saskatchewan on the road,
That's a W, my
that's
friend.
a winner. That is a winner,
W,
and that's
my
what
friend.
we want you to do on this channel, baby. We want you to win on Dynasty. We want you to
What's
win
that put you on
sports
CFL now? Like 12-1 or something?
betting. I'm right now. Overall, it's 8-2 for like
Beautiful.
the overall head-to-head games. But I'm up. I'd have to check it, but I'm up about 17 units because I've just been crushing these spring leagues because I watch the stuff. But I just had to put that out there for you guys. Like the Friday night games, I don't get to watch because we're doing this stream for you guys. But when it breaks like that, I mean, Did you hear any audio on that?
Yeah, I did. I did hear the audio on that. That was sick. That was crazy. What a great return. That was a great play from number 2. Who is that?
His last name's Alfred. I didn't catch the first name in time because the feed cut off, but I saw that when you were going over Mason Taylor a little bit.
That's
it popped
beautiful.
up on my phone. And
That's a
I love
beautiful
when he
play.
bets like that.
Yeah.
That's
It
I don't
makes
even
betting.
consider
That's
that a
what
bad
betting all
score.
about. That's what betting's all
is.
about, is just tuning into the game, being excited about it, right? Because you have stakes involved and then things like that. It just makes those plays more memorable, right? It's beautiful. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get to our next guy. So this guy was a little bit more low-key, right? Terrence Ferguson out of Oregon. He kind of ran up people's list because of the athleticism. He really showcased a lot of athleticism coming into the combine, right? Hence, I mean, he went, I want to say 4 picks after Mason Taylor. He was the 46th overall pick in the second round to the Rams, who, you know, they have Tyler Higbee, very old. I think he's 32 years old now. They have Colby Parkinson, who's a mammoth. He's 6'7", but he's mainly a blocking tight end, right? Not athletic enough to be a receiving tight end. But with Terrence Ferguson, 6'5", 247, beautiful size for the position, 22 years old. And in 2024, you know, had an okay season, right? He's had better seasons. I thought his 2023 tape looked a little bit better, but 591 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns. Insane athlete. Now, guys, I do a little bit of data reading in terms of, I look at the stats of every single player that's been drafted over the past 11 seasons and kind of go over like what types of players are more successful in fantasy. And at the tight end position, athleticism is everything for success at the tight end position, not only in fantasy, but in the NFL in general. If you're not a good athlete, chances are you are not. If you're slow and kind of stiff as a runner, you're not going to be successful at the next level. And Terrence Ferguson's athleticism off the charts, right? So great size, like I said, but one of the knocks, playing in Oregon for 4 seasons, you're not going to really have a lot of pro style experience, right? You're going to be in a RPO style, you know, college type of offense where you're kind of being used on gimmicky plays and things like that, your one read types of plays. And he's got a limited route tree. You know, that's just is what it is. I think those things can be coachable, you know, coached, you know, teach him how to run routes and stuff since he already has the athleticism. But overall with Terrence Ferguson, you know, I wasn't the highest. I think he was my tight end 6 or 7 coming into the NFL draft. But overall, I thought he was a great athlete, but the Rams get him, and I think he's going to start a good portion of the season if Tyler Higbee starts slow.
Well, yeah, so, you know, we'll see what happens. I mean, it's just, like you said, with these Oregon tight ends, with Oregon in general, it's always a mystery to me how they're going to play out in the NFL because of the offense that they run up there.
Yep.
I mean, Dan Lanning seems to kind of have got it a little different. He's got it right with Bo Nix. We're going to see what happens with Dillon Gabriel. We'll see what he's able to put out there. I'm curious to see what's going on for sure.
Yeah. So we'll go ahead and get right into the film here. So with Terrence Ferguson, this is versus Oregon State here. He's going to be blocking on a drag route right in here, I believe. And you're going to see him kind of work out on a drag route. And this is where that speed and explosiveness comes in. Oregon State has terrible All-22. I apologize for that. And you see some of the yak ability. Very janky yak ability here. Jordan James, number 20. Loved him coming out. But you see him work on that drag route here. He's obviously not the best blocker, but solid enough. But you see him kind of stop. Very janky yak ability, but he does have it. This play, he is on a crossing route here, and you're going to see a very contested catch. Couldn't find this on All-22, so we get the game film here. It's no big deal. But you see him on a crossing route. Boom, boom. You don't see it that well there, but don't worry, I got a replay for you guys. Terrence Ferguson
down there
also
too.
Great tattoos Terrence Ferguson does. Dillon Gabriel on the platform, off platform here, slides down, works back to the ball, catches it versus Wisconsin. Man. That's a great play. I'm going to show that one more time. I also want to kind of improvise, kind of show, look, Dillon Gabriel throwing that pass there, kind of crazy into a tight window. Great throw from Dillon Gabriel. But yeah, then this is the last play that we're going to look at. This is versus Oregon State as well. He's in the slot here, and this is weird because I think he runs the wrong route. I don't think he knows what the play call is. So you're going to see him here. Runs right into the running back. I don't know what his route was supposed to be.
Oh, man.
I think he's going for a tight end screen or something like that.
Yeah.
But runs right into Jordan James, and that's not a good look. It means you're not listening in the huddle, or you got confused, or whatever. You're looking at your shoes, trying to see if your tattoos look good. I don't know. But that is not what you want to see on film consistently. This is a one-off thing, but I mean, this is one of the few people that I've seen on film that just didn't have any idea what the play call was. They were on the road at Oregon State. Oregon State, I'm going to be honest, guys, don't have that many fans because they did not win a game in their conference last season. So I doubt it was super loud there, but maybe the crowd noise was a little too loud at Oregon State and he just couldn't hear the play call. I don't know. But that's something that you're going to have to clean up at the next level if you want to be an NFL starter, because if you're out there and you don't know what the play call is, the coach is going to put you on the sideline and say, you go chill out on the bench for a little bit, because that's a big-time no-no at the next level.
Well, Oregon State's not in the Big Ten. They're in that Pac-2, but that's still the Civil War up there. But Corvallis isn't exactly screaming, LSU on a Saturday night. It's just kind of, I didn't catch on the film what the down and distance was in that play, and I think the players can mentally check out. I think Oregon took them to the house, to the woodshed.
Oh, yeah.
But
that was that was early in the game. That was first quarter.
So I think that players, when it comes to, when you're pointing out these kinds of details as far as things that most casual football fans don't really kind of see those kind of mental mistakes unless a commentator points it out.
Absolutely.
Like we saw tonight, did you see, you're only going to see extreme sets of laziness. Like, I don't know if you saw the Pirates highlight. Did you see that center fielder for the Pirates tonight?
I'm not big on baseball. I need to be because, we've had every time I went to a local game, right? And
even if you're not, you'll see the clip. You could probably find it real quick. Ball goes into center field, right? It's just hit straight up the middle, and he lazily goes for it, and he misses the grounder. So when you're an outfielder and the ball gets behind you, usually that's a ton of extra bases, but he doesn't even make zero effort to go chase it down, and it's an inside the park home run. But that's not as bad as what happened on the film there. But I think that stuff like that, you can get complacent when you're on a powerhouse team like Oregon, and I think that's a challenge for these good coaches like Kirby Smart. I'm sure Kirby Smart at Georgia just has to hammer it home that you can't get comfortable because these teams can bite you in the butt because you're not mentally there. You see it. I think that, we're not in the Saban era, but like when Alabama played Georgia and won that game and you have that big emotional win, I think that might have been I don't know when that game was scheduled for Oregon, but they were so excited to beat Georgia that next week they went on the road and lost at Vanderbilt. Now, Oregon obviously didn't lose that game, but you can mentally relax, and that's the toughest challenge for coaching, especially in college. I think it's
keeping that
in
intensity up, right? You go to a big win and then you underestimate a bad team like Oregon State or Vanderbilt, and that's exactly what Alabama did, right? And Vanderbilt just came for the throat. Honestly, you guys weren't really expecting it, right? And Noro also played terribly that game.
And the great coaches like Kirby Smart, and I think even Dabo Swinney can keep these guys at the level, to where they don't get their complacency. And with, in those kinds of things with wide receivers and tight ends, if you don't hear the play, you kind of improvise it. I mean, that was kind of a clumsy play there. And I think all that stuff matters to the film for the coaches and being able to understand what you're going to do next week and how you're going to go forward. Absolutely. And if it's early in the game, like you said, that's, you got to really kind of put that on a tight leash, and you want to train these players to be better, because when you're in a second level, I mean, this is a second-round draft pick. He needs to step up his game. The Rams, Sean McVay is going to have his foot in his ass on this kind of stuff. Matthew Stafford won't stand for it. Matthew Stafford is too much of a vet, and in the twilight of his career, on a team that's got a Super Bowl window to tolerate stuff like that. So
sneaky Super Bowl team too. Sneaky playoff team the Rams are, because they have Devontae and Puka. Kyron's been lighting it up, right? Decent offensive line, decent defense, not the best, but decent. And then, at this point, the 49ers, the Seahawks, the Cardinals, like that, outside of the 49ers, and they looked horrible last year due to injury. I mean, the Rams could definitely win that division if they come out strong, right? Because the Cardinals, I don't think are going to be very good, right? I love the Will Johnson pick, but I don't think they're going to be particularly good. The Seahawks, I don't believe in Sam Darnold, really. So, yeah, I mean, no, I think he was more of a product of Kevin O'Connell, just like Nick Mullins and Josh Dobbs were. I mean, he just made everybody look good. Look what happened to Kirk Cousins after he left Minnesota, right?
But to be fair, Nick Mullins and Josh Dobbs didn't dominate like the Vikings did last year.
But
I
they
think
were
the
they were
Vikings
fantasy relevant though, which is crazy. Kevin O'Connell can make everybody look good. It's crazy.
Well, we're going to see because I'm not big on J.J. McCarthy.
Really? I actually love him. I think he's got a really solid arm. I think he's, fairly athletic as well. And, I don't like talking about OTA stats, but he led all quarterbacks on all teams in OTA touchdowns, and he only had one interception. He was lighting it up in OTAs. We'll see how he does in training camp. But I have high hopes for him, man. Because, it's the unknown, right? We haven't seen him take a snap. And he struggled in the preseason last year. So we'll see how he does. Kevin O'Connell, he hasn't proven his quarterbacks wrong yet. So we'll see. Nope. He's kind of like a quarterback guru in my eyes. So we'll see how he does. I've been buying a lot of J.J. McCarthy in Dynasty just because he's so cheap. You can get him for like a late 2026 first. So, but we'll hop into the last guy.
Bobby, before we do that, we have 36 viewers. 36.
Absolutely. That's on X, right?
I don't know where they all are from. I can't see it. It just tells me we have 36 viewers. I'm assuming that's where they are. So I just want to take a moment. Thank you all for joining us.
That's fantastic.
We hope you're enjoying this. We hope you subscribe to my YouTube channel. I know I link that stuff every day. Subscribe to Bobby's channel. I'm going to put out a series here. Bobby puts out these shorts for those of you that are new because I've got almost 1,000 followers. Bobby's got like 15 on X.
Yeah.
And for
not,
those
not
of you
too big on X, guys.
Right. So for those of you that are watching mostly off my feed, I know my stuff is sports betting. That's 90% of what I put out there. But if you love the game of football and you're doing your Dynasty football, check out his channel. Check out his X. He puts out these shorts. He creates these videos about top threes. He does lists. He puts this All-22 NFL film. He's got NFL film. We do college film because we're going over rookies. But he's done NFL film on these players and puts it out there. And his channel, his YouTube channel has got 120 more than I do because it seems like the fantasy community is more on YouTube than they are on X.
Yep.
But check him out. Like you'll learn something about the game of football and it'll help you be a better sports bettor. That's kind of why I've done this. I mean, I'm in a Dynasty league with Bobby, and I think if you can mesh, and for those of you that are sports bettors that are watching my channel, hold on a second. This is our biggest audience, and Bobby's not the bettor, but tell them about the bet you won, Bobby.
Oh, the 10 leg?
Tell them.
So last year I did a 10 leg anytime touchdown parlay and cooked that up. I think it was week 12. It was late in the season. Nick Chubb had just came back. It was the game where he scored the receiving touchdown. He was the last leg that I needed and won $80K off of it. That's crazy, man. It's awesome. So, yeah, if you guys want to check out the 10 leg, obviously I don't think parlays are great, but it's always fun to just cook up crazy parlays for, $10, $20, right? And most of the time you're going to lose your money, but sometimes you can hit big. So,
let me rephrase that. You will more than likely lose your money in a parlay. 80K,
99% of the time.
Yeah, parlays. If you want to do a consult with me about parlays, I will teach you everything about them and why they're so unhealthy for sports bettors and why you just got to learn to resist the edge. Take a side, take a total, maybe do a prop because you got a 1 and 2 chance. Like you don't have a 50% chance on a prop even, but sides and totals, slow building bankrolls. That's how you build money. I've been gambling for 35 years. I know exactly how this game is played, and it's hard to be successful at it. You'll see tons of accounts on X that just throw out, do what Bobby does. We'll say, hey, I hit 80 large on this parlay. Let me just explain how lucky I was to do it and should be flaunting the money and could easily grow a channel in that. But we actually have integrity about betting, which I think is a oxymoron to some people. They may not believe that you can have integrity with it but sports betting, there is an opportunity to win. You just have to know what you're doing. It's like I wouldn't go play craps at a table in Vegas because I don't know it. I don't care how much money you want. I don't believe in donating my money to the casino. Yeah. I believe in trying to make money at the sports book because I like sports. I watch sports. I do things like this with Bobby where we watch film. I mean, I've been watching it way before I've known him, but just, I got to clarify that to everybody. But I've seen enough psychology understanding. If you go to my YouTube page, you'll see the videos that I've put out about how I pick winners. I got another video that I'm going to put out tomorrow. Either tomorrow or Sunday, I'm going to premiere it. And you'll understand the science of betting. And there are a lot of channels I noticed that have done that, but they're still not fully honest. You know, they still kind of just are interested in big wins and things along that sort. And that's not just who I am. I just can't do that. So with that being said, though, I'm going to segue into our final tight end candidate. Who is it, Bobby?
So normally how we do this, we go over the first 5 to 7, right, picked players in the draft. I skipped over Elijah Arroyo because I found him pretty boring as a prospect. I thought a lot of his production came off just chunk gains where the defense is just blown coverage. He was wide open. This is the last guy I want to go over here, and it's Harold Fannin Jr. out of Bowling Green. He was a 3rd-round pick. He is the most interesting prospect behind Tyler Warren for me in this class. He was actually my tight end 2 in the NFL draft prior to the draft starting. I had him over Colston Loveland. Now, I will clarify, I'm looking at this from a fantasy football point of view, a dynasty fantasy football point of view, because in terms of him as an NFL tight end, he's a little gimmicky, but I think he's got a ton of upside. So let's kind of go over him out of Bowling Green. So he's 6'3", 241 pounds, slightly undersized for the position, but not a big deal because he's just good enough at blocking to where he's not a liability. Like I said, he was a 3rd-round pick, and he lands with the Cleveland Browns. One orange and brown team to another orange and brown team. So with Cleveland Browns, right, they have David Njoku there. He's very inconsistent because he's always hurt, but it's the final year of his deal, and I think they're going to move on from him, especially since they took Harold Fannin Jr. with day 2 draft capital. He is 20 years old, guys. Very young for the position. And last season, those are correct numbers. In 13 games, guys, 117 receptions, led all players, receivers included, in receptions last year in the country. Led all receivers in the country, including receivers, like I said, 1,555 receiving yards, led the country. 10 touchdowns as well. Yeah. Insane production. Obviously, he's playing at Bowling Green, so he's playing in the MAC. He doesn't play a lot of high-end competition, right? But
well, hold on. Before you go any further, I think that's a little bit more impressive because MAC teams have tougher non-conference opponents. Absolutely. So I think that kind of offsets what they've done. To have more receiving yards than Jeremiah Smith and Ronnie Williams is absolutely insane. I didn't know that he led the entire college football coming from the Maction. I love Maction.
Yeah. And number 2, Tyler Warren. So the top 2 players in receiving yards last season in the entire country were both tight ends. Can you imagine that? That's crazy, isn't it? Yeah. So he topped Tyler Warren by 300 yards. So elite production, like I said. He cooked Penn State as well. He had like almost 200 yards against Penn State, and they were a college football playoff team, right? Solid defense as well.
Elite defense.
Yeah.
Good defensive team.
So in terms of his yak ability, he's not the fastest athlete, right? He's not the quickest. I think he ran a 4.7 140, which isn't crazy. But in terms of his yak ability, he's got some sweet feet, man. He uses these, jab steps and, hit fakes and things like that to make people miss. He's got a little bit of elusiveness to him, and he's got kind of like that Luther Burden-esque type of ability to break off of tackles. And he can also always falls forward whenever he's being tackled. He just always gets this extra 2-3 yards whenever he gets tackled. But like I said, limited competition, right? He did cook Penn State, but outside of that, he didn't have a lot of, big time opponents, and he's undersized, like I said. I don't think we've seen undersized tight ends. Like I said, Brock Powers undersized, Evan Ingram's undersized. We've seen it happen before where the size for the tight end position, you don't have to be this 6'7" monster. But you saw his junior season was a historical season for a tight end. I don't know if that's ever topped at the tight end position. I'm not going to lie. I mean, he was super impressive. And, in his sophomore season, he had 623 yards and 6 touchdowns as well. So you also see he's utilized in the rushing game a little bit. I don't think he's going to be utilized like that in terms of the NFL. But, yeah, I loved Harold Fannin. He was good enough to be my tight end 2 over Colston Loveland. who everybody was like that was their tight end one.
Cleveland got Quinshon Judkins. He's going to be on the ball. And they got Jerome Ford. I don't see Fannin getting the football in that backfield at all. No need
Absolutely
for it.
not. And they got Dylan Sampson out of Tennessee, who I'm not really in love with, but decent change of pace guy.
Right.
But let's go ahead and dive right into the film with Harold Fannin. So last clip I know is a little choppy, but this is versus Toledo, all right, in the MAC. And he's going to catch a back shoulder throw here. You're going to see him right here in this area. Catches a back shoulder throw, turns around, keeps both feet in bounds. You're going to see that a little bit. Toledo's All-22 film, surprisingly, not super great. You're going to see him in the backfield here. He's going to work up field number 0. Boom. Back shoulders, very important for the tight end position. I would know because I play the position. That's something that you absolutely have to be able to do. And he's got that elusiveness, that short area quickness. He's not the super long speed type of athlete, but he's athletic, man. This is on a seam route. You're going to see this. I actually picked out 4 clips here. Boom. Beautiful play from the Bowling Green quarterback. I think that his name's Reslaf, I think. But you just see him looking at the ball. And this is another thing. With tight ends, you got to know when to look back at your quarterback. And this is versus cover 2 here. So you know in that 12 to 15 yard range, that's where this ball is going to go. Boom. He actually puts a little bit too much heat on it, but catches it in traffic here. Super reliable hands. I think he only had like 2 drops on the entire season. Super reliable hands. Great jump ball receiver as well. Also, solid on double moves too.
That's a good throw.
That
was a good throw there.
I think his name's Reslaf. All right. This is what I was talking about, the yak ability. This is versus Penn State. That seam route was also versus Penn State. You're going to see Harold Fannin Jr. in line here. He's going to be on a drag route, and you're going to see him work those sweet feet of his. Blocks a little bit, works out in the space. Whoop! He just has that short area quickness, right? And that's Penn State. This guy's 240 pounds, and he does this all the time, where he'll like hezzy step you. It's like, what are you doing? How are you doing that? And you see
some people just have like athletic ability, Bobby. Like like some people can just do it. Yeah. You don't have to be the biggest or the fast. Like, you know who else I think has crazy athletic? It's like Deuce Vaughn. Yeah, he's so small.
Underrated guy as well.
Criminally underrated. That's not.
He's He's super short though. He's super small. I think he's 5'6.5". Right. Yeah. He's been terribly inefficient just because that offensive line at Dallas is just horrible. But he's got some explosiveness. I think he can be utilized as kind of like a Darren Sproles type of player at his absolute ceiling, right? Because they're similar sizes. But you see that hezzy step from him, and then you see him wrapped up. What does he do? He continues fighting. I know this is going to sound a little crazy, but you know the play where Bo Jackson injured himself for the Raiders looks very similar to this because he's always just pulling for extra yardage. Kind of has that type of effect. And Penn State, I guess their cameras are sun fried. I don't know what happened here, but you'll see him. Boom, hezzy step, and you don't expect a guy his size to be able to do stuff like this. And he's a bulldozer too. He's not quite like Tyler Warren level in terms of bulldozer, but
yeah.
And then here it is. This is a dig route from Harold Fannin. I want to say he's in the slot here, right here. And he's going to be on a dig route, and he's actually right here. You see him on a dig route. This is pretty contested catch here. Choppy film from Penn State. Way to go. Whoever your All-22 guy is. Great quality stuff here. But anyways, you're going to see Harold Fannin in motion here, number 0. Playing in the slot. You're going to see him kind of run a quick dig route here. And 43 is kind of on him. He plays this really well, number 43. I don't know who that is. But also, so you see him. He just doesn't come down with the ball. I don't think that's classified as a drop, but overall, very solid hands. Also want to kind of do a side note here. I was kind of high on Abdul Carter, but he does this way too often. Look at this. He'll do that spin move inside. His spin move, he utilizes it all the time, but it's not super reliable for him. He's going to have to get better at that. But his first step is incredible.
There's been knocks on that in his draft profile. Like it's like almost a one-trick pony when it comes to him.
A one-step explosion. It's either one-step explosion where he beats those slower tackles, or he tries to beat you with a spin move, and his spin move's not super fast. But I will say in terms of explosiveness off the line, he is elite. That's what made him a top 5 pick, right? Because he's so fast. I kind of see him more as a linebacker in my eyes, but obviously that first elite step is, I mean, like I said, it's elite. But overall with Harold Fannin Jr., I think the film that I showed wasn't super representative of him as a player because I think he has way more yak ability than what I showed on the film. It's kind of limited in what I have on Bowling Green film. Surprise, surprise. But overall, man, I think Harold Fannin is fantastic. I think once Njoku leaves Cleveland, I don't expect him to have a big year 1, but in year 2, once Njoku's gone, I think he's going to be superb. I see the comment about no Gadsden. So I love Oronde Gadsden II. You know, he's the son of a pretty solid Dolphins receiver in the early 2000s. If you guys recognize the name Oronde Gadsden, I loved him coming out of Syracuse. Big time. He's a former receiver also. He had over 900 yards and 7 touchdowns as a receiver, as a sophomore, I believe, or a true freshman maybe. But overall, I loved him. I love his hands. I love his jump ball ability as well. But you know, he's a later round pick. He was, I think, a 5th round pick or a 6th round pick. So he didn't quite make the list for us to go over, but I'm super high on Oronde Gadsden. You'll see him in all of my buy low videos in terms of the tight end position.
Well, this has been an hour and a half, our wide receiver show.
And that was only 5 players too. We normally do 7, so we kind of made this go a little longer, right?
Well, you know, like it's just good to talk ball in June. A lot of people are talking baseball or, you know, the NBA Finals on Sunday. So this is the part of the show where we're just gonna kind of blow off steam, kind of wrap up that stuff. But
go Pacers.
What's your take on Game 7? Who do you think it's gonna be?
Man, who do I think the better team is? Probably OKC. No. But I think the Pacers. I think the Pacers are going to win. I'm a Pacers fan, surprisingly enough. So I hope the Pacers get in there and get it done. But you know, Halliburton is a little hurt right now. I think he's going to be a little limited for Game 7, which sucks because he's such a good player for them, defensive guy, right? He can do all the things. Not super into basketball, but I need to be because every time I watch basketball, I'm like super into it. So I'm gonna have to get in my bag with basketball next season. But overall, I think Pacers probably take it. But I'm not educated enough to really tell you an expert opinion here.
That's because Bobby's spending all his time on football film, getting you guys ready.
Yeah.
All 36 viewers. I can't believe we got 36 viewers. That's so amazing. We got 3
where are
on
y'all
YouTube.
In the comments? We need some comments in here. I think most of you guys are on X, but definitely if you guys want to hop in the show on Justin Paul Sports, man, we'd love to get some comments. We answer pretty much any question that comes in. So, yeah, if you guys have some questions for us, man, I'd love to talk ball with any and all of you. So, yeah.
I don't think that X lets you – this is the first time I've streamed on X. I don't think X lets you, like, take comments on a live stream. I don't know. I've never watched a live stream on there, but I did
That's
see
awesome,
that.
Though. Great viership from X, man, for sure.
Yeah.
We're thankful all you guys are watching. Hopefully we can get you guys' Dynasty squads up to par with your league mates, right? That's our goal here, kind of making sure you guys understand all of the rookies coming in. And also with the SEC show, too, I think that's going to be valuable, especially if there's any solid Dynasty assets like Ryan Williams coming out in probably 2027. He's going to be insane. We'll talk about him in the Alabama breakdown. And what's that, the third week, somewhere in there?
You know, I don't have the schedule in front of me. If you give me a second here, I know I got it saved somewhere. But I will say that
I got it right here, actually. That's the last week.
So there's our schedule coming up. We've already gone over the wide receivers. Today is the tight tight end film show that we thank y'all for watching. But for the next 4 weeks, we're going to start off out west. That's right. When I did this, I tried to lump everything kind of geographically.
Texas. I'm going to love to show you guys a little bit of Arch Manning, man. That's going to be awesome. I'll probably show you guys some clips of us of Arch Manning cooking Mississippi State like he did last year in that start. So that'll be good.
Well, what we'll do on that show, if you're watching this and you're a Texas fan, we're going to make you wait till the end. We'll probably start off with Missouri. That's what we'll do. We'll start off with Mizzou, and we'll end with Texas, and however you want to do the other two teams, I don't care. But
sure,
it's going to be a fun SEC season. I know that a lot of people are just blindly assuming it's Texas, Georgia, and everybody else in the field. And, man, when those two teams and Ohio State, those three teams, you get hit with draft capital, you feel it. I can't think of any – it's very hard to just consistently do it. Like Georgia won back-to-back, so I would trust Kirby out of those three teams the most because he's done it. But – you know, for the first time in a while, they've really got a question mark at quarterback, in my opinion. I mean, Georgia doesn't run the ball really great either. They should improve on that. We'll see. I got this feeling that it's going to be Alabama. I think Alabama's got enough veterans returning. You know, they only lost 3 starters on the defensive side of the ball. That secondary is all back. I mean, they lost Tyler Booker, they lost Jalen Milroe, but on defense, their main loss was just Jahad Campbell. But they got Rousseau coming back, and we're going to go over all that stuff during the preview. But I just don't know if it's just as simple as throwing Texas and Georgia in the SEC championship. I think Alabama's got a chance to get in there. I think LSU's got a chance to get in there, and I think
LSU, I think, is a top 2, top 3 team in the SEC. I think. You know, Alabama always brings the heat. We'll see how they go. You know, they lost Milroe, right? But they didn't lose a lot of talent, really. They lost a little bit on the defensive side. But outside of that, you know, y'all lost Jahad Campbell, you know, solid edge linebacker hybrid for you guys. But outside of that, I think Georgia lost a ton. Texas lost a ton, right? They lost Jaden Blue. They lost Golden. They lost Bond. Lost not James Pierce Jr. They lost some other guys as well. Tennessee, lost yours. I mean, if anything, they upgraded. They upgraded with Arch Manning. He was
everybody wants to crown Arch Manning, and that could just be a name thing. I mean, it's just like
we'll see. He looked good last year when he played, so we'll have to see.
Oh, it's funny you say that. So I'm not picking on Texas. I'm just saying when he played, the one game he played, it was Mississippi State. I mean, it's just like
he played.
He thrashed some SEC competition. You know, we'll see. It's just we'll see. Like when you're first-year quarterback starting, and I mean, he's not necessarily fully a first year because he sat on the bench last season.
He played a couple seasons, but he played what? Louisiana Lafayette, right? And then they played Mississippi State. Yeah, he played Navy. Oh, okay.
It's just okay. So Arch Manning's there, but like you said, Golden's gone, Bond's gone, Blue is gone.
They lost Gunnar Helm, their tight end as well.
So we're gonna see what you can do. I'm just not ready. I think Texas, Ohio State.
They lost both of their tackles too. I think too.
Texas and Georgia. It's just a step back. One of them, I might even go as far as to say one of those don't make the playoff.
I think Ole Miss isn't. I hate to say it because I'm a State fan, but Ole Miss has killed it every year in the portal. Yeah, they lost Trey Harris. They lost their running back, right? Ulysses Grant or whatever his name is. I forget his name.
That's it.
And then
no, his last name is Ulysses.
I named a president just there.
Yeah, you named the general from the north. How dare you?
Yeah. Ole Miss, they lost Dart.
Wait a minute. You just named a running back that was the commander of the North for Ole Miss.
He has a lot of hats, man. Yeah. But hey, it is what it is. But you know, Ole Miss, they kill it in the portal over the past 2 or 3 years now. They've had a ton of talent come that way. So I could see them being favorites, right? Lane Kiffin just has to get over the hump, man, and get into an SEC championship game because he's got all the talent in the world. He just has to prove it. I think LSU's up there. Obviously, Alabama's going to be up there regardless. See Texas A&M being sneaky. We'll see because they're always sneaky. Georgia, I agree with you. Georgia, I think, is going to take a slight step back. Texas is probably going to take a slight step back, but I think Arch Manning's good enough. From what I saw in his limited starts, I think he's good enough to lead them to a ranked finish at the end of the season. But it's going to be interesting. I think the SEC is a beautiful conference to look at and break down all the teams. It's obviously the best conference in college football, but also has a ton. Obviously, we also have a ton of interesting teams in a lot of different situations, right? Because Arkansas's quarterback's interesting, right? Arch Manning. There's a lot of exciting names to talk about. Lenore Sellers for South Carolina. There's a lot of really exciting names. DJ Lagway for the Gators. So we'll see. We'll see how it all goes. I'm excited to look over.
Oklahoma will be the most improved team in the SEC. I think Auburn's going to be a little bit better. I don't like Jackson Arnold. Not because I just don't think he's a great quarterback. And I think Vandy kind of thumped their chest a little bit, but I think that Clark Lee's done a great job there, but I think that might be a little bit regression there. But I think the biggest regression out of all these, and they're not going to want to hear it, it's Tennessee. Not only did you lose your 5-star quarterback over some NIL stuff, but good for Tennessee for biting the bullet and sticking true to their word. I respect that.
I like that a lot.
But I do think that, like you said, with Dylan Sampson and James Pierce gone,
Dante Thornton's their deep threat. He's gone as well.
I think didn't Squirrel White transfer out of there?
Probably. That sounds right.
Tennessee is in for a 7-win season. I'm sorry, Vols. I'm not sorry, Vols fans. You guys really showed your ass last. Beating Alabama, you really kind of like rubbed it in so hard.
What do you want us to do, man? Beating Alabama is like a lot of teams' Super Bowl, man. Can you imagine how Vanderbilt felt last year when they beat y'all?
That's different. Those are two different things.
They took their whole football field down and threw it in the river.
Well, they just put it together. They just put that football field together.
Yeah.
But with Vols fans, it was my all right. So the three teams, I'm an Alabama fan, so LSU, Tennessee, and Auburn are the teams I really don't like. But LSU, I respect the hell out of them because I loved Coach O. I like Les Miles. Brian Kelly's a good coach, and they've put great players in the NFL. That is a tough place to play. I mean, you've had their number respectfully, but LSU, when they beat Alabama, they don't go crazy. And then with Auburn, I expected a little bit because they're not at the top of their game like they were before the Saban era when they had won. They were like, oh, next hand. And then they kind of got, they show the kick six every year like it's just the greatest thing since crack day. Well, you ran a special team. You did a CFL play like we saw on the highlight earlier.
Yeah, but that was beautiful. That's a beautiful play. That's one of the more exciting plays in the college football history. It's just unfortunate that it came against your Crimson Tide, right?
Hold on, though. I would say this objectively. If it wasn't Alabama, Auburn, if that was Michigan and Ohio State. Right?
Yeah, the game was super high stakes, right? So,
yes, because the winner went to the SEC championship, and that was the BCS era, so there was a lot on line. But if it was any two teams, regardless of my feelings of Auburn and Alabama, but if it was any two teams, and I saw that play, I'm still smart enough to understand that that's not a play of skill, that's a play of luck.
Yeah.
And Auburn –
that happens in the Mountain West and the MAC every year, right?
Auburn had voodoo, and SEC fans will tell you that season because they played Georgia the week before and threw a Hail Mary, and it bounced 17 times, and they caught it for a touchdown. So
it was like the 2023 Vikings, right, where they won all those games by one possession. They were coming out with the skin of their teeth every single week.
Yeah, but Auburn I kind of expect to be that way when they beat Alabama. But with Tennessee, now for 17 straight years, Alabama beat them, right?
Yeah.
And I expected when they won it 3 seasons ago in Neyland, when they beat Bryce Young, even though that pass interference call was bullshit. But They barely won the game on a field goal, but their offense, to their credit, was moving the ball, and they got down the field, and they got in the right position to kick a field goal. That it happens, right? But last year, they played like shit. I mean, I'm pardon the language, YouTube, but like they did not play so great.
Tennessee was like that every single game, though. Their offense was horrible. It was so awful to watch.
I'm going somewhere with this, right? So when they got to the playoffs, right, they couldn't get it going against Vanderbilt in rivalry week. And it was just so, I was like, when they're going to go to Ohio State, when they had the matchups after the playoff show, I'm like, this is not going to happen how they think it's going to happen.
And Ohio State was by far the best roster in the country, and they were just cooking everybody right outside of that one Oregon loss. That was
last year, Ohio State. I mean, there's no video evidence of it, but I do a Madden league, and I picked Ohio State to win the national championship last year because of they got Caleb Downs, and their quarterback this year is going to be Julian Stan from Alabama, and then they got Seth McLaughlin, and they got Jeremiah Smith and Ibuka and Judkins from Ole Miss, and I was like, Jesus Christ,
and Henderson, right? Yeah,
it's just
they were stacked everywhere.
Yep. And it's just they still got Jeremiah Smith, but we're going to see what Ohio State does. But see, I knew Tennessee was going to lose in Columbus. It was one of my favorite bets. It was my favorite bet of the playoff. I had them and I had Penn State. And I'm for playoff expansion, like for 16 teams, and I'm for the best 16. I don't want any automatic qualifiers. Use the BCS formula. Give me your 16 best teams. No bye weeks, no bullshit. 1 through 16, line them up, knock them down. If a MAC team gets in, a MAC team gets in. If only one SEC team gets in, then so be it. Like, I just don't care. Show me your best stuff. I don't like automatic qualifiers.
Yeah, it's kind of tough because remember in 2023 when Florida State didn't lose a game and their quarterback got hurt, right? And they didn't make the college football playoff. That was, they probably weren't going to go far in the playoffs, but they didn't lose a game, man. They didn't lose a single game in the ACC. So, let them,
When we talk about, I'm excited because we're talking about college football right now. And I got to say that when it comes to that particular circumstance, right? So last year we saw Clemson win and beat SMU in the ACC championship, and Alabama was the team on the bubble. And I thought, Clemson's. Everybody's like, Alabama didn't belong ahead of SMU. And, of course, I'm going to sound biased to the rest of the free world, but I'm going to tell you something. Clemson should have replaced SMU.
I agree.
SMU should have fallen out.
If they beat you in the conference championship, they should have won it. Because Clemson, they were competitive all year in all of their games, man. They just had some tough losses, right? But, offensively, they were super fun to watch.
College football fans were just over the moon because of Oklahoma game, and I understand it. But when you talk about why would they were sports pundits talking about why would you go to why would you even play a conference playoff game if losing it may kick you out of the playoff? Well, the year before when you mentioned Florida State, Georgia was number 1 the whole season. Yeah. Didn't have a loss. They played Alabama and lost the game, and it knocked them all the way down to 6. Yep. So
I remember that.
There has to be consequences for losing your conference championship. Just because you go to the show don't mean that you make it. You
have to make conference championships matter, right? Because conferences, if your conference championships don't matter, and you don't put your starters out there because you're going to make the playoffs regardless, then why do we have conferences?
In that year, going into the conference championship weekend for the Florida State thing, Michigan was undefeated. Florida State was undefeated. There were 3 undefeateds that made that. Washington was undefeated.
Oh, Washington.
No, it was Washington.
Yep, that's right. They made the national championship that year with Penix.
So the thing was, and Georgia was undefeated going into conference weekend. Now, what people don't understand and what they get all tangled up about is Alabama was ranked 8th. And when they won the game, I thought it was enough to get them at that 4 spot because they beat number 1. And you have to reward beating number 1 too.
Yeah.
And you have to when you lose a game, you have to fall.
Yeah.
When TCU made the playoff, they just played in the Big 12
They were in the
championship.
national championship was crazy to me.
But they should. Alabama was left out again because they. I think people got Alabama fatigue, but because of the game, like TCU lost to Kansas State, and they didn't punish them for it.
Yeah.
But they punished Georgia for losing.
Will Howard led Kansas State, by the way.
And then Alabama went and beat the brakes off them with Will Anderson and Bryce Young in the first half, put that game away and put it on ice. Like, and TCU, well, they didn't. Connor Stallions didn't have any. Like, I'm sorry, Michigan, y'all getting what you deserve for that cheating nonsense. Like, statistics that show how much of a difference it was when they were in there when they weren't. And people think I'm sore about the Rose Bowl. I'm not. I mean, it just, it showed. It showed in the records. I mean, your coaches keep getting suspended. Your coach is getting suspended again this year. Like, Michigan needs a bowl ban for 2 years to straighten that out. They really do.
Yeah.
Because you were deliberately breaking the rules, and it helped you in that season. They should have been disqualified from the postseason that year because it was during that season that they had evidence.
Well, I mean, you don't really have to worry about them making the playoffs anytime soon. I don't think so.
No,
that team's in shambles now. Yeah, that team's in shambles, and they don't have any identity. They just run the ball, and they really don't have that much talent in terms of running backs either. They lost Moolings. They lost Donovan Edwards. They don't really have any identity, unfortunately. And if they keep going that hardball offense where they run the ball pretty much 60% of the time, it's not going to work. You're going to have to change offensive schemes because you just don't have the personnel to do it. We saw that last year. So Michigan's in a tough spot.
So, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start our SEC previews next week. I can't wait. Like, it's like Christmas for me.
I got to make the graphics for that. I don't know where I'm going to go with the graphics, but they're going to look insane.
Let's go. Anything else you want to discuss about before we sign off?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and tell you guys, I'm dropping videos 2 times a week. I have some shorts 2 times a week as well. So if you guys want to look at any in-depth film reviews on NFL players, I do that every single week. You'll see Nico Collins dropping Monday. I go in-depth about how I feel about Nico Collins. I have my notes on the screen on him for him as well. So definitely check that out. I dropped a video today on buy low running backs. So if you guys want to get some high-value running backs for the cheap, that is a video that you should definitely watch. But thank you guys for watching. We had almost 40 viewers at one point, so that's beautiful. So thank you guys for watching. Next time you're in here, man, jump in the chat. We definitely love to talk ball with any and everyone that hops in the chats. But thank you guys for watching. And, yeah, it was a ton of fun this episode for sure.
Yeah, I think the only way to get the comments, though, is you got to go to the YouTube page. It's not hard, guys. Yep. Everybody knows how to use YouTube. Ask away. We'd love to get enough viewers to where we're answering questions about Dynasty or about our SEC previews coming up, because this show is going to be every Friday. Like, I think July 4th might be the only one that gets pre-recorded because I just don't know. Both of us have kids and we have families, so we're not quite sure 100%. But
the audio would be horrible.
Yeah. Well, we got dogs and stuff, and that'd be going crazy. But thank you so much for joining. I am so thrilled. Do not forget that I have a CFL package, and as part of my outro, hit me up on X, winnable.com/Justin Paul Sports, $149. I'm crushing it against the spread. I've got 2 games lined up for tomorrow that I'll be posting. Let's win some money. Let's win our fantasy championships. And let's have ourselves a great weekend. Thank you guys so much.